If you're going to buy one cultivation cartridge to go into the Stirling mower, I really strongly urge you to go for this one. This is called the Scarifier Cartridge, and it's made up of lots and lots of little thin springs. These springs are absolutely ideal when spinning at high speed. If you set the height of cut high so that these are just touching the surface, then if you need to collect leaves or debris that's on the surface of the grass, then this collects everything and throws it into the grass box. Really good for cleaning up the grass. But its main purpose is for thatch reduction actually in the grass itself. So also for moss, if you have strong moss on your lawn, then it's really good to treat that with iron, and then once it's gone black, as you can actually see here, this has been very recently treated, and so now I'm going to be scarifying in order to remove that moss. So why do we actually need to reduce the thatch layers? So underneath this grass, a good healthy sward will be producing thatch, and the thatch is the dead material, the sheaths of the grass of the plants, the roots, and it creates that spongy feel to the grass. A little bit of thatch, a quarter of an inch, 6 millimeters, up to 10 millimeters, absolute max. It does offer some advantages to the grass, but really we do need to just keep on top of that. The thatch layer is, I like to refer to as a sponge, and that sponge sits just underneath the grass, and that is absorbing water and nutrients. So if it absorbs the water and the nutrients, the grass plant itself doesn't send its roots deeper, because the roots can stay in the surface, get all the nutrients and moisture that it needs at certain times of year. The water doesn't go through the thatch quite so easily. The roots don't go chasing after the water. If I can reduce the thatch layer, there'll be less sponge to hold the water, and the water will be encouraged to go down deeper, and the roots will chase after it. If you are prone to having drought conditions in the summer, then it's much better if your grass plants have deeper roots, because there's more moisture down there. If they've been encouraged to stay shallow, then as soon as it goes dry, the thatch, like a sponge, dries out really quickly, and the roots are left in what is a dry zone, because they don't have any deeper roots to be able to go and get any moisture. So we really need to keep on top of this thatch layer. The other thing the Scarifier does is, because the tines are so very close together, just 6 millimeters apart, then what we can do is, with the grasses that are growing flat on the ground, the Yorkshire fogs, the annual meadow grasses, what I can do is I'm combing the grass actively with power, and so it makes the grass stand more upright. And if I then mow afterwards, then I can get the grass so it's much more all at the same height, and less of the grass is lying down, which always looks less attractive. So there are three main questions that we get asked about the Scarifier cartridge. Number one is, how often should we scarify? Well, actually, if you're on, there's no fixed answer to that, because it depends how much thatch you've got. It depends how quickly your lawn is actually producing thatch, and how much can you take out at a time. But it also might depend on how often you have wheelie bin collections, because there's a lot of material that comes out of the grass and you can only fill the wheelie bin. So why take out any more than the guys take away from the council? So we say actually the cartridge is very, very gentle. It does stress the grass plant out slightly, so it's really important that the grass plants have moisture. So the grass needs to be nice and green, it's got plenty of moisture, and it needs to be well nutrients, good fertilizer levels as well. And that way, when you stress the plant out, it can recover quickly. By using this weekly, I'm not going to set it quite so aggressively. I'm just going to be combing the grasses upright and try and get a really nice clean cut with vertically standing blades of grass. The next question is, that we're asked very often, is actually, how deep should we set it? And again, I can't give you a definitive answer. So It depends on a lot of factors. It depends on actually how much thatch you've got, it depends on how long your grass is, and it also depends on how much material you can actually handle that comes out of the lawn, so maybe do it more regularly. But the whole Allett principle is about treating your lawn a little and often. So don't be afraid to go shallow and do it more often. The machine and the cartridge are both very, very quick, so you can use this a little and often, maybe even weekly if you have the time, to be able to just take a little bit of thatch out every time and stand the grass up. The depth that I recommend is actually when I put the wheelie bin at one end of the lawn. If I do a there and back, I've got a full grass box that I can empty into the wheelie bin. That way I get the job done quickly and I'm more likely to do it more often, which is better on the little and often principle. But you can set it deep, and you can, of course, with the Stirling, slow the machine right down, but deeper doesn't always give you a greater uplifting of the thatch. And the reason for that is, as the spring becomes under more load, the spring bends back. So instead of entering the ground and flicking like this, it starts to flick with a backward inclined tine. And that tine doesn't fetch out as much material if you set it down too deep. So the advice is, start higher, set it at 5mm above the ground level and see how that goes. If you think you want to take out more material, lower it down 2 or 3mm at a time until you're getting what is the optimal amount of material, and that will depend on your lawn and will also depend on how much material you can handle. The third question that we're asked is, should I mow before or after I scarify? And again, I'm going to be really vague on this. If you mow first and scarify second, the shorter grass allows the scarifier to either work more deeply and also to be able to throw the grass, the uprisings into the grass box better. It definitely gives great advantages to that. So mow first and you'll get better results from the scarifier second. But as I was talking about earlier, one of the really nice things about this, the close spacing of the tines makes the grass stand upright. And when the grass stands upright, you'll see different lengths of grass. So if you mow after you've scarified, then you take off all those blades of grass. And for example, annual meadowgrass seed heads as well are also taken off so that we remove those from the lawn as well, and so they're not going to seed later. So in an ideal world, you'll mow first, scarify second, and then mow again. It depends how much time you have. But maybe what you do is every other week, what you could do is mow first or mow last, and then get advantages of both situations. So let's have a look at how this is going to work in this iron-treated lawn full of moss. So here we have the material that's just been fetched out of the sward from the Scarifier cartridge. Set the cartridge at 0, just slightly below actually, and you can see here, because the lawn has recently been treated with iron, that it's a darker material, but there's a lot of moss in here, there's a few plants as well. And of course, if we're taking out all of this dark material, whether it be dead leaves or whether it be dead moss, then ultimately your lawn ends up looking greener because it's only the green leaves that are left and the darker materials are out. So ultimately it will end up making your lawn look greener and more lush. So here we are. That's the material that's come out from the Scarifier.